We are in the middle of spring practice, and I'm chatting with former Seminole Nile Lawrence Stample. Nile, thank you for joining me today. You were out at spring practice last week, you tell me, and I want to talk with you about that. But thank you for joining me, man. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Florida State's good. I'm good. So yeah, man, it's been an awesome road thus far. So I'm looking forward to kind of seeing where we go.
Yeah, my mood does seem to be a little bit better. The better the football team has done over the last couple of years, the mood stays kind of up. Let's talk about that. What's the energy level out there like? Obviously, a tough offseason in some ways, a lot of turnover, a lot of guys going to the NFL. So been some good attrition, but then obviously you dealt with what we dealt with at the end of the year last year, which had everybody with their heads hung low. What's the energy level out there at spring ball?
The energy level looks good, man. It looks unbelievable. The amount of electricity that I feel like is going through those kids, especially through Norvell, is awesome to see. And it seems like Norvell is a huge leader when it comes to the energy and the vocalness that the team needs to kind of push through from segment to segment, and being able to watch the level never drop from individuals to special teams to inside run. Everything stays super consistent, super high level, super high intensity, and I think that's how you really build great teams. So I think Norvell's doing an awesome job there, trying to keep that energy level up.
What do you think? What do you think his attitude is towards spring ball? Just the way that he views it, the way that he sees things. What's your read on him?
So it seems to me that one, Norvell seems like a very intentional person, just genuinely for himself. But as he's approaching kind of our this ongoing season after dealing with such a tough loss against Georgia, I feel like as we see someone go through something like that, Norvell's attitude has been unbelievable when it comes to molding these kids and trying to help them figure out what comes next and what pushes forward next and what we need to look forward to next. So it's a great attitude, I think, that he has, and it seems like a lot of his guys are buying into that. But just as we kind of push forward through the rest of this spring practice, we'll see if these guys truly buy in and consistently buy in.
Now, what are some of the differences that you see, and maybe some of the similarities too? I'll let you do both sides of the way that Norvell runs spring practice versus the way that Jimbo did it when you were back there playing.
Yeah, Jimbo is so structured. He's super structured, and he's very, I would say, docile in a sense of he'll scream and he'll bite your head off. But a lot of times he's really more or less just watching, and he's seeing what's happening, and he is intense. But I think the difference between Jimbo and what I've seen with Norvell is that Norvell is way more intense consistently, and whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, where you have Jimbo gets kind of more riled up when something doesn't go as planned. It seems like Norvell is riled up whether it goes good, bad, or things are just staying consistent across the board. So I think that is a huge way that they're different. But overall, it is really awesome to see coaches kind of come into this new era of college football and realize that these kids really need someone to be kind of in their corner and not necessarily barking at them, but
Sure.
someone that feels like they're in their corner and they're on their side. And I think that that's the vibe that I'm getting from Norvell.
We've heard people talk about like his energy, and like even players have been like, yeah, I don't understand how at like 4 a.m.
Yeah,
he is
right.
up like going, and then like they'll have whatever it is, 2 a days, and then meetings, and then whatever else they've got, and then like a recruiting event that night, and he's had to go speak somewhere else in the middle, and then like same thing from like 4 to like midnight, and they're just like, yeah, I'm 18 and I don't know how he does this,
How he does it. He
which
loves
is
it.
really kind of phenomenal to see. Anybody out there? So there's been a lot of, I mean, obviously there's a lot of focus. We won't dive so deep into the nuts and bolts of every player, but like, there's a lot of focus on the quarterback position. Obviously, you're moving on from Jordan Travis, who, an absolute fan favorite for just the way that he kind of turned things around and helped kind of bring Florida State back. And you're going with DJ, who obviously you expect to be here for just 1 year and then go to the NFL. Any thoughts on that quarterback position, or were you able to watch Uyunglele a little bit and
Yeah.
take anything away from there?
Yeah, I watching him, it looks like he wasn't as vocal as I thought he would be. He was very quiet. I didn't really hear him speak too much, but it seems like he is kind of that guy as of right now. It seems like he is kind of that go-to quarterback that we're seeing at that number one spot. But it was another point that I really like to bring up is that Norvell did not drop whatsoever when Brock got in, or when that three spot got in, because obviously they do ones and twos and threes. No matter what was going on, he gave it that same intensity, which I think shows dividends, and it shows it's a very high professionalism in order for everybody on that field to understand that every single person is vital to the success of this team, and no one really trumps over one another. So, but to answer your question, I think DJ showed a lot of poise. I think he threw the ball very well. I think he has a very good touch on the ball. He had some really good completions, and I think that I'd be very comfortable to watch him come in and be that starting role, at least just from the small snippet that I was able to see from that practice. But from talking with a few guys, it seems like he's paying pretty consistent as of right now, and I guess we'll kind of see how that continues to progress through the spring ball.
Yeah, you mentioned the attention, and I don't think I've ever heard that as many shows as we've done, as many people we talked to, the attention that Norvell gives to 2 and 3. And the first thing that I thought of when you said that was, well, there was a situation that we were in last year where
Yeah.
a number 2 quarterback had to win 2 games for us. And then we got in a situation where a number 3 quarterback had to win a game for us. And I know that, I don't know that Brock went out there and won us the ACC championship, but he certainly didn't go out and lose it, which he very well could have, and could have had turnovers and could have really cost his team, but didn't. And so, I've never heard, and it doesn't surprise me with how intentional Norvell is and how consistent he is with quarterbacks and just his personality. It doesn't surprise me that he gave the same attention to 2 and 3 and doesn't drop it all there. But you want to see the benefits of that? Well, we saw it last year, I think, at the end of the year with the way that those guys, we needed them. Like, they had to come in and play like that. Tate came in down a couple of scores when Jordan got hurt, and then he had to go on the road in the swamp, and then obviously Brock winning the ACC championship. So exciting, and very excited to see what the talent looks like here this spring. I'll ask you this on the spring as well, and then we move to something else. But obviously, I know that you had your eyes on the defensive line. And I've got a bold take that the defensive line at Florida State, I know Farmer's not out there, but with Peyton and Marvin Jones Jr. on the edges, and then Josh Farmer and Daryl Jackson in the middle, like that 1 through 4 could be one of the best defensive lines in the country. Now, depth is important, and you certainly have to, like Florida State liked to rotate a lot last year. It's what kept Braden and Jared and those guys fresh at the end of the year. But that 1 through 4 could be really, really nasty for the Noles, and could be one of the better defensive lines they've seen, even with losing Braden and Fabo and Jared and other guys. So thoughts on the defensive line that you saw too.
Yeah, I thought so. There was a ton of explosiveness coming from every single position, the tackles as well as the defensive ends. So we're seeing a lot of fast movements, which our defensive line have always had, and that's where we recruit. We recruit fast defensive linemen, guys that can really move and be able to go from gap to gap. So I saw that, and it looks really good, especially being able to see some of these guys that replicate guys that I've already been with, and being over there, especially the amount of weight that I've dropped. It's just, I felt so small because these guys are massive, right? They're huge. And being able to see that and seeing how well they're working together, I think that this really could be a very, very good defensive front. But knowing Coach Odell and knowing his philosophy, he is very much a rotate guy. He is big time. So having the depth is going to be super important in order for our guys to be able to play with a high motor. So that is my only concern right now, is being able to have quality depth. And I'm not sure if we saw that, but I think going into the spring as well as going into the off season is going to be extremely important that Patrick Payton and Farmer and some of these other guys that we have in the interior are putting our arms around some of these younger guys to make sure that they are ready to get in the time that they can.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% there, that I think top end, they're really good. But
Mhm.
what made last year's defensive lines even better was how fresh they were able to stay. And the way that there can't be a massive drop off. Like when you rotate guys in, if there's a massive drop off, they'll stop rotating you in. Like that just like we can't have a liability. And last year we didn't really have a lot of liabilities. And so it's how much can they cultivate and develop that depth on that defensive line.